They say that money can't buy happiness, but it's much more comfortable to cry in a Mercedes than it is on a bicycle. I don't always see people I know in public, but when I do, I pretend I don't. Why do Asian girls have small boobs? Because only A's are acceptable. Jack be nimble and Jack be quick. Jack jump over the candlestick. If Jack's so nimble and Jack's so quick, why is he in the hospital with a little burnt dick? Tired of a listless sex life, the man came right out and asked his wife during a recent love-making session, "How come you never tell me when you have an orgasm?" She glanced over to him and casually replied, "'Cause you're never home." Growing up in the hood, I always knew that we all smelled like our houses. A guy with a black eye walks into a bar and orders a triple whiskey. Bartender says, "Having a tough day?" The guy replies, "Yeah. My wife and I were doing the dishes and she turned to me and said, 'Why don't we ever make love like they do in the movies?' So I grabbed her, I bent her over the kitchen table, I yanked her panties down, and I rammed it in, jackhammering and slapping her ass as I pounded her. Then I pulled out, I turned her around and sprayed my juice all over her face." Bartender says, "Wowzers! But what's up with the black eye?" The guy says, "Turns out we watch different movies. Socialists want everything that you want, except your job. Ah, welcome to your 50s. You're now too old for young people, and you're too young for old people. I don't always drive my wife's car, but when I do, the gas light's on." Woke tolerance will reach such an incredible level that intelligent people will be banned from thinking so as not to offend the imbeciles. The older you get, the better you get, unless you're a banana. If you own a parrot and you don't teach it to say, "Help! They've turned me into a parrot," then you're wasting everyone's time. If you put the government in charge of the Sahara Desert, in 5 years there'd be a shortage of sand. What do you see when the Pillsbury Doughboy bends over? Donuts. I don't always contradict myself, but when I do, I don't. A man and a woman are sleeping together when suddenly there's a noise in the house and the woman rolls over and says, "It's my husband. You have to leave." The man jumps out of the bed, jumps through the window, crawls through the bushes and out onto the street when he realizes something. So he goes back to the house and says to the woman, "Wait, I am your husband." She replies, giving him a dirty look, "So, why'd you run?" I don't always say thank you, but when I do, you're welcome. If no one hates you yet, you've been doing it all wrong. If government is the answer, it was a stupid question. Women who marry for money and men who marry for beauty are equally robbed in the end. Why doesn't a chicken wear pants? Because his pecker is on his head. What's the difference between light and hard? You can go to sleep with the light on. One of the biggest differences between men and women is what comes to mind when the word facial is used. What's 30 feet long and smells like urine? Line dancing at a nursing home. A police officer spots a man driving erratically and thinks that he might be witnessing a DUI violation. Naturally, he pulls the guy over. "Sir," said the officer, "have you been drinking?" "Yes, officer," the guy responds, "I have." "So how much have you had to drink tonight?" the officer asks. "Well, let me see," says the guy. "I started back at O'Malley's and I had 5 beers there. Then I went over to Finnegan's bar and I drank 7 double vodkas there. And finally I went to Riley's. I drank a full bottle of some Kentucky bourbon over there." "Sir," said the police officer, "I want you to step out of the vehicle and take a breathalyzer test to see if you're over the limit." "Why?" says the guy. "Don't you believe me?" A married man was visiting his mistress' girlfriend one day when she asked him to shave his beautiful long beard that he had taken years to grow. "Oh, James, I really like your beard, but I would really love to see your handsome face for once." James replied, "My wife loves my beard, and I couldn't possibly do that. She'd kill me." "Oh, please," says the girlfriend in a cute little voice. "I can't," he replied. "My wife loves this beard." The girlfriend asked once more, and he sighed, but he finally gave in. And that night, James crawls into bed next to his wife that's fast asleep, when suddenly she awakens. She turns towards him, feels his face, and says, "Oh, Michael, you shouldn't be here. My husband will be home any minute now." Growing up in the hood, I always knew that we all smelled like our houses. What does a homeless woman use for a vibrator? 2 flies in a bottle. Have you heard the one about the lesbian who took Viagra? Yeah, she couldn't get her tongue back in her mouth for a week. What do you call a girl with no feet? Peggy. What's worse than spiders on your piano? Crabs on your organ. What is a crackhead's favorite song? "I wanna rock!" What did one tampon say to the other tampon? Nothing. They were both stuck-up bitches. Scientists are saying now that the average size of the man's penis has shrunk down to 5 inches. This just goes to show how big the Chinese population is getting. Did you hear about the blind gynecologist? Yeah, turns out he could read lips. A guy was walking through the Sahara Desert, desperate for water, when he saw something off in the distance. Hoping to find water, he walked towards the image, only to find a little old man sitting at a card table with a bunch of neckties laid out on it. The guy asked, "Please, I'm dying of thirst. Can I have some water?" "I don't have any water, but why don't you buy a tie? Here's one that goes nicely with your shirt." The guy shouted, "I don't want a tie, you idiot. I need water." "Okay, don't buy a tie. But to show you what a nice guy I am, I'll tell you that over that dune over there, about 5 miles down, there is a nice restaurant. My brother runs it. Go over that way and they'll give you all the water you want." The guy thanked him and walked away towards the dune and eventually disappeared. About 3 hours later, the same guy comes crawling back to where the old man was sitting behind the card table. The old man said, "I told you about 5 miles over that dune. Couldn't you find it?" The guy, barely able to talk, says, "Yeah, I found it. But they wouldn't let me in without a damn tie."